This is the 119th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the third week of December 2012. This episode is titled Out with the Old. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Howard, and joining me, the co-host for 119 times, and with his last podcast of 2012.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah, we might throw in next week. I'm just planning for the fact that you'll probably come back from vacation.
Why you throw me under the bus?
And not be able to do a podcast.
Why you throw me under the bus?
Let's just say, if there's another podcast next week, it'll be happy, and everybody will be excited that we got one more in there.
And I'll be Tanner.
And you will be Tanner. How you doing, Justin?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Jason?
I'm very well. We're in our new studio. The bright lights in the big city.
Very bright. The lights are really bright here.
The holiday bush is very decorative.
It's looking good.
We are recording from our, I guess, one of our mini studios. But, all right, so we have a blog post and we have some agendais. We have a blog post and agenda. So this week we have a new blog post. We'll talk about that. Sales discovery best practices. And Mark Zuckerberg giving a little cashola, a little charity, little holiday spirit. Oracle is going to make one less. Vendor at Dreamforce next year. And we actually have some more details than what we talked about last week in the Obama campaign's use of Salesforce, which we were arguing what did they use. You very wrongly said they used Desk.com. We'll come around and figure out what they actually used.
That was just what I thought.
Right. And then we'll make our CloudFocus app pick of the week.
That was thanks to Paul Walker, right? Paul Walker on Twitter sort of pointed us in the right direction on that one, I think.
I think so.
So thanks, Paul.
So first up is the blog post du jour, which is up on blog.arkusinc.com tomorrow.
Or today or yesterday, depending on
whenever you're reading this. It'll be up on Friday the 21st. So it'll be published on the 21st. This podcast will probably come to you before the 21st, probably on the 20th. So it's called Sales Discovery Best Practices by the blog poster formerly never named. Since we like to make the sales guy give us a blog post now and again, this one is sort of talking about the discovery process and things you can do and think about, best practices, tools you can incorporate, collaborative nature, a lot of which we've talked about before, but sort of from his standpoint of how he uses the tool, because I like to not just always get geeky with our blog, but sometimes throw out things that are like, for normal people, for salespeople.
Is that what you like to do?
That's what I like to do.
Okay.
Are you saying that you picked this topic for him?
Maybe. I don't know.
All right.
So
that's up there. Just go check it out. You are involved in the sales process. You're involved in discovery calls. What's your number one key tip when you get into a discovery call?
Preparation.
Preparation. That's very good. Like what?
Well, without giving away the secret sauce.
Yeah, I don't know what that secret sauce is.
Yeah, well, we talked about in the blog some of the tools that we use in Google Docs. Everyone who listens to this knows that we are Google Docs people.
Yep.
Prior to that, Google Wave was a big one.
Google Wave.
We tend to get into a Google Doc prior to a first discovery call or a follow-up discovery to do scoping for projects. Write down a list of questions, write down some key topics to hit, write down some of the information that is more unstructured, things that doesn't fit in your CRM,
right.
More like
notes.
Notes, but in a very collaborative way in Google Docs, and again, prior to that in Google Wave. Man, I love bringing Wave back.
I know.
A year and a half later.
Still miss it a little bit.
Too.
A little bit.
Google Docs has done pretty good, but man, was Wave great. But being able to do that kind of preparation and then collaboration inside of a document while you're on a conference call, between watching somebody take the notes in the doc and having the chat window on top of the doc or inside the doc, and then the comments and everything, that tool really works very well. And
yep.
Preparation being sort of the key to getting all that information into the doc beforehand, so that the conversation could go very smoothly and you're not looking all over the place
Right.
as the conversation's happening. It's like, oh, whoa, 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 or be surprised or something like that. It certainly happens where you're surprised. Someone says something and it's like, oh, I wasn't really expecting that to happen. But we do our best to prepare for those conversations, and getting that information into a doc where everyone can share it is pretty important.
Yeah, to me, I love the documentation nature of it, in that there is, we document a lot, and sometimes you go back to that document that you wrote, and you can go from the history of the first call, the first whatever, and we document all the pieces along all the way through the project. I think you posted inside of our chatter the other day. You posted this screenshot of multi-tiered project, and all the meetings you had and all the things, and like how document. So me, the key to most of this stuff is documenting everything, so everything's very transparent. You can hand off. For example, you're going on vacation next week.
I am,
and you'll be out of pocket.
I'll be tanning.
You'll be tanning somewhere in the South, and
out of this country.
And there's lots of we keep lots of documentation. So that's my key. He talks about it. But so if you want to read that, go to blog.arkusinc.com, where you'll also find all the podcasts, our blog posts, and we've now had the blog up for almost 2.5 years.
Yeah,
2
I would
years?
say so.
It's like hundreds of blog posts.
Hundreds of posts.
Yeah, so lots of stuff up there.
Go back and read about Summer 11 if you'd like.
Yeah, what we thought of that new stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're all set up. I know the Blogmaster's already started up on the agenda.
2013.
2013.
We're through April.
We're through April. Excellent. So very cool stuff. Next up, in the holiday spirit, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook is giving a lot of money. Actually, he's giving shares. Just a little bit different than giving money.
It's giving it has a value.
Yeah, but that value can go up.
Or down.
That value can go down.
You can play it how you want to play it,
yeah.
I guess. It's a weird gift.
So Mark Zuckerberg gives $500 million in Facebook stock to charity.
18 million shares.
That's a lot.
A lot of shares. I wish I had like 1 million shares.
1 million of Facebook?
Or 100,000.
Yes.
He's giving away 18 million.
It's becoming, I think the interesting part of the story was just, they said they publish a list every year of the people who give the most money every year.
Top philanthropists.
The philanthropists. And
I will not pronounce it the way that Sean Connery does on the Celebrity Jeopardy.
How does he pronounce it?
I think he says full-on rapists or something like that.
Oh, really?
Wasn't that a thing?
Oh, is that a joke?
On Saturday Night Live? Yeah, that went way over your head.
Yeah, it didn't. It was not on there. So then I'm looking down the list, and it said that from 2010 he was tied with our buddy and friend of the podcast, Mark Benioff.
He's my best friend.
My best friend.
That's where I'm going on vacation.
Are you going to his house?
Yeah,
in Hawaii.
Yeah,
nice. But I'm looking at the list now, and neither one of them are even close.
Well, that was in 2010.
Yeah. Philanthropy 50. What is this from? This is February 6, 2012. Anyway, neither one are even on this list. Let's see. I'm going down. A lot of these people I don't even recognize. I just don't recognize their names, which is kind of cool. Oh, well, there's Sergey, number 25. So, Ellison, number 27.
Gates has to be towards the very top.
You know what?
He's
well, that might
probably
not.
number one.
He was not. Hold on. Let me go to the top. He was not. Number one is Margaret Cargill. She donated on her death $6 billion.
All right.
So she kind of won that one.
That doesn't count.
Well, it counts. Then Dietrich, William S. Dietrich II, 500 again a bequest, 500 million. Then it was Paul Allen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
more than Gates. Wow.
And then George Soros. Then Bloomberg with 3.311 million. But Gates not in. I can't even.
Is it because he doesn't give as our foundations on there?
I think the thing is that he already made his massive pledge. Like he donated $500 million or something to that foundation. Now that foundation gives.
Right.
These are personal people giving in 2012.
The foundation is different.
Or 2011, whatever it is.
All right. Wow.
Anyway, kind of interesting.
Good stuff, tech people.
Let's go to the list of 400 and see if we're on that list. No, we're not.
We're not.
But I like it. I mean, I like that this is part of. It's almost become part of Silicon Valley's culture that as you grow and you get big, you also give back.
What was Benioff's? Was it his first book or his second book?
The second book.
It was about this.
Yes.
Don't remember what it was called.
Well, it's basically how he set up 111.
Right.
Which Google then followed and whatever. But I just like that the idea that these people who have massive wealth then turn that massive wealth. They actually call out, interesting enough, in the article. This is on VentureBeat.com, by the way. They call out Steve Jobs, who I guess wasn't very public about. Now, whether he gave money or not, who knows? Because if I give money, you don't know that I give money because it's only if I give it in my name. I could give it anonymously. So they're calling him out for Sana not being, he was reluctant to sort of give in or talk about his giving. But anyway, interesting stuff. So good on you, Mark, starting off so young and giving almost $500 million.
It's good.
I mean, he's what, 26? 27? It's ridiculous.
Pissing me off. Stop it.
Next up, speaking of not giving money, Oracle to buy Eloqua for roughly $810 million. So Eloqua, known for their marketing automation, tracking, campaign,
Eloqua,
email.
known as being one of those really enormous booths when you walk in.
Didn't they buy
the
someone
expo
else?
floor.
I feel like we'd had in our podcast, we talked about them buying someone else recently.
I don't think so.
Oh, it just gone public. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But
they're one of those big ones that are, out in the front.
Right. Like
it's
one
Eloqua,
of the
Marketo,
titanium,
and
platinum
Pardo
sponsors. Yeah.
It's like those three are just sitting there at the front, all showing you the same thing.
So question for you. They get bought by middle of next year. They show up next year?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably would.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, I mean, if Oracle wants to make them part of their product mix and not something that you could buy off the shelf, then they might stop putting in their money into integrating with Salesforce.
Yeah, I think
that's sort of like a connect.
That would be like a weird mistake, I think.
Well, I think we've seen that before. People stop. They don't do it immediately, but then they eventually go, well, we're not gonna make this great product and put money into it and then make it so our competitors can use it in their product. We're gonna keep it so it only works in our product.
Yeah,
that's a pretty common thing to do.
Yeah, I think that would be a mistake.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for someone else. One of those three other vendors.
All those other ones are probably like, all right, when are we getting bought?
Have you ever done anything with Eloqua?
I cannot say I have.
Okay. Well, anyway, interesting tidbit here, pre-holiday tidbit.
Little tidbit of information.
This is a struggle here. You're looking on you're on vacation already. Have you already checked out?
No, I've got things to do tomorrow, but you got me a little out of my element.
This is the new podcast studio.
It's the new studio. The lighting's really getting me. Your eyes are very red. I don't know what you did recently.
Oh, I think there's something in the air.
There's something in the air.
Yes. Alrighty.
Maybe it's the winter bush behind me.
It may be. Last but not least, we have to come back to there was a press release announced talking about more about what that Obama using Salesforce, and turns out they were using the Service Cloud.
Yeah.
So I think that means they were using cases.
I think you can just say Service Cloud. I don't know what they were using.
They're very specific. Service Cloud with like Service Cloud. They even say platform. It really looks like they were using.
Yeah, they weren't using Desk.com.
They were not using Desk.com.
But I find it hard to believe that they were using cases.
That's got to be. I mean, in terms of the thing that could manage the most amount of traffic, I would have everything go into case. If you were building a system to traffic this stuff, I would use cases.
I know.
To tag them and
there's just so many.
Right, but it can
14,000 a day, peaking at 80,000 in a single day on election. I mean, that's a lot of cases.
But we know people who process.
If you're Obama, I guess you get special permission to process as many as you want.
Right. You get
scale.
Scale. Your data volumes increased.
Everything is increased.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting.
Limits what? Who?
As
long as we get to write this press release.
Yes,
afterwards,
it's true.
If you win.
And then they talked about actually using the state campaign's budget management.
I like that piece.
And look what they saw. Look what they were using. using Salesforce Chatter, the #1 enterprise social network. Okay.
And the standard for how business and organizations collaborate. It's now the standard.
It's the standard?
It's the standard.
The hype.
So says the PR department. So says this press release. It's the standard.
It's funny because I asked I went out to speak to a bunch of Salesforce people a couple weeks ago, and I asked a couple of our clients, could I get some stories? Like because I know how we use Chatter, but no matter what, we don't use Chatter sort of the way that our clients use Chatter. So I asked some stories, and I was impressed by the amount that came back when came back to me, sort of outlining how they use Chatter and how they use photos and use it in their sales teams and sort of for pointing out victories and stuff. I thought it was pretty interesting. So
I've got the office manager climbing up my leg.
Yes.
That pitter patter is the office manager.
They can't even hear that pitter patter.
He's a dog.
Yes.
He's climbing up my leg. I'm now petting him to keep him quiet.
Yes, he's heard your voice. Now he wants to talk to you.
Interesting indeed. I was just asked, earmuffs people, I was just asked by a client to turn Chatter off.
Wow.
First time that's happened to me since Chatter was like on by default.
Yeah.
They said turn it off.
Now, when they usually say it to me, when I get someone ask me to turn off Chatter for them, I usually say, should I turn off Chatter or just turn off Chatter on all the objects?
Yeah.
And leave Chatter itself and the search, because that's kind of like, oh, look, you get search too. It's great search.
They weren't having it. First they were like asking me about compliance, and I gave them the answer, the compliance locker answer.
Made by Arkus Inc.
They were happy with that.
Great.
So they were like, oh, all right, then just turn off the chat.
Oh, yeah.
The chat.
I've had a couple clients ask me to turn that off now.
So I was like, all right, I could turn that off.
I actually thought about turning it off in our own org.
Well, it doesn't even work for me. It doesn't work in Chrome for me.
Okay.
So in any org.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rat hole. But then they were like, actually, that's what we want. We want the chat. We don't want Chatter. And I was like, well, I can't do anything about your compliance things with this chat thing.
Oh.
And they were like, well, then that has to go away. But the Chatter thing is a distraction. We don't want it. I'm like, it's not. I tried to explain how it wasn't a distraction. Then I tried just turning it off everywhere.
Right, just turning off all the objects.
Yeah, but they were like, no, there it is on the home page, and you click on the name, and you're not looking at what you're supposed to be looking at. And
wow.
And I was like, well, look at this conversation that we can have. And I was like showing them, and they're like, no, just turn it off. I'm like, well, the search is going to get worse. They're like, it's going to get really bad, or is it just like not the same? I'm like, no, it's just not the same. They're like, we don't care then, just turn it off.
Wow.
Off with it. So I had to go in and just turn it off.
It's like killing kittens.
This is the first time I've had to turn Chatter off for anybody.
I think I've had to do it once before.
I have not had to do it once.
I've done it once before.
Typically, I'll just leave it alone.
Right.
And like if they're not interested,
right,
at the beginning,
I'll
just leave it alone,
right,
and it'll just be there, and I won't talk about it. But these people were like, no, we specifically do not want that. No. Please get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because we want our Salesforce to have 2 tabs.
Oh.
Home.
I don't want to have home.
Accounts and contacts.
Well, that'd be 3 tabs.
3 tabs.
Okay. And campaigns,
else.
That's 4 tabs. And leads, that's 5 tabs.
No.
Reports, 6 tabs.
They were hesitant on the reports tab.
I mean, that's interesting, but like turning off reports is sort of like, I want this Ferrari, but I don't really want the engine so much.
This is a for now thing.
Okay. It's like a simplicity thing. I think that's a lot of organizations do that. They start simple and then add on.
It's actually the most simplest thing that I've ever done. It's accounts and contacts.
Did you say you should just go use Zoho or?
It's like your spreadsheet's probably doing all right.
All right. Well,
hopefully they're listening.
Speaking of listening to you, which no one is, let's get to our CloudFocus app pick of the week.
All right.
Holiday edition.
Holiday edition.
I just sprung that on you. Wow. That was awesome.
So.
That was marvelous.
I've got a little story behind mine. You've picked something similar to this, but not this exact product.
Oh, I have?
Yeah. So let me give you the 411. People.
Okay.
So it's open enrollment time. it's time to enroll for our benefits.
Oh, it's like benefit enrollment time.
Open
Okay.
enrollment here at Arkus for the next year. Yeah. Probably for a lot of companies, it's
most companies
time,
they
right?
start from January.
So I wanted to change my insurance, and the form to fill out wasn't a fillable PDF or anything like that.
And you didn't use PDF Pen, one of your...
I tried to use PDF Pen, but it wasn't like you have to like circle things and checkbox, like mark check boxes, and it just wasn't working very well.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I'm spending way too much time doing this. I'm printing this and I'm filling it out. Okay. So I fill it out, and then I talked to my benefits administrator,
the HR department. Yeah.
And they're like, we don't want your piece of paper. We need to email that to somebody. And I'm like, man, I just printed this thing out. I like drew all over it, I drew on it with a pen. What is this writing? I can barely write anymore. It's so
Me
sad.
neither. Me neither.
It's like, if you can read this,
good
luck.
It's literally like I'm a monkey at this point.
Good luck trying to read my name.
Yeah.
Like, really. But I was like, oh, man, what am I going to do? So I quickly go on the iPhone App Store.
Yes. You thought of the one that I picked from whatever.
Yeah, but I think yours cost money or something. So this one was free. So it's called Genius Scan, and it's free.
Okay.
There is a pro version.
Of course,
not sure what exactly it gets you, but this thing was really cool. All I did was take a picture of the piece of paper. There were two of them.
Yep.
It put the two together into one.
Yep.
And then allowed me to send it wherever I wanted to send it from inside the app. So I could email it. I could copy it and then paste it somewhere else.
Right.
It had integrations to like Box, Dropbox,
hopefully iCloud.
a few others, like a bunch of other places. I'm not going to get in. You can download it. It's free. You may as well grab it. It's called Genius Scan. And it made it really easy for me to just email my benefits administrator the document, the PDF, which was basically a scanned document without me needing a scanner.
So it takes a photo and it turns it into a PDF.
Into a PDF. Yeah. That's right. And multiple photos. So like I could have snapped 12 pages and it would have created one PDF, not 12 pictures or 12 PDFs or whatever.
Right.
So turn my phone into a little scanner. I think you've picked one of these before.
Scanner Pro or something.
Whatever. This is Genius Scan. It's free. It's from the Grizzly Labs Business.
Of course it is.
Which is an awesome name. And you can find it on the App Store for your iPhone.
It's
pretty
free
cool.
again, yeah?
Free is good. Free is great.
There's very few things that are better than free, except for my pick of the week this week. So, interesting. So, good pick. So, Genius Scan free from the Grizzly Apps. Scan your documents. Or
I
you Scanner
picking
Pro.
Things that I used recently.
Yeah, me too.
I'm very, I don't go fishing for apps. I get apps when I need them.
Yeah, I landed in because it goes through sometimes where I don't have app picks, and then sometimes I have a long list. I landed in a folder on my iPhone the other day or iPad that I found 10. I was like, oh. So I either have to make them into a blog post or something because I found 10 all in one, and they're all kind of cool. And I put them in a specific folder.
What's the name of the folder?
I'm not going to tell the name of the folder.
Just the name of the folder.
It would give it away.
It wouldn't.
What's the name of the folder? It's initials, and it would give it away.
It's initials?
Yeah,
just give the name.
No, because it'll give all of them away.
Every single one?
Yep.
The name of the folder would give away every single
The name of the folder that I put it in, yeah.
Give it away.
No.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
Listen in 2013.
No.
I will pick one per month.
Nobody's even listening anymore.
Okay. So speaking of not listening anymore, you and I went on a trip for pleasure this last weekend.
That sounds so great. We did. We even shared a hotel room.
And the partner that shall not be named. So it was three of us. So it was all, whatever.
We all shared a hotel room.
We all shared a hotel room. So
went to Nashville.
We went to Nashville, Tennessee, for various different reasons. Basically to listen to country music and eat barbecue. It was a 40th birthday present for me, from you guys. It's hey, we're going to go away for a weekend. Great fun, whatever. So I came back, and I've had the chance to use this application twice now. It came out like 6 months ago. I went and I searched the blog, and I'm like, have I already picked this? I feel like I picked this. We've actually talked about it,
we did talk about it because we created one of these things for fun just to see what it looked like.
Right. Because
I think we both did.
We talked about it when it came out.
Because it replaced something else that used to exist.
Yes. So I just had the chance to use this application twice in a week. The first time was because of Sandy and whatever. The wife and I decided that we would send an electronic card this year and use
electronic holiday card.
Holiday card, yes. And then use the money to put to charity that we would normally spend on buying cards, whatever. So I used this application once, and I was like, ooh, that's fun. And we sent it out, and it looks good. And I'm like, I like that.
I received mine.
Yes, you did.
It was very nice.
Yes.
I actually received it twice.
Probably.
And then again on Facebook. So 3 times.
3 times.
That's why it's better, because I got it 3 times.
Yeah, that's right. So then we went on this trip, and to thank you guys for taking me, I thought I'll make this little neat thing. So anyway, I use Iphoto for the iOS, which is interesting that this feature to do this doesn't exist in the big version, which is kind of fun, but I'd rather have it on the sort of desktop version. But anyway, it's called Iphoto for iOS. It's made by Apple. They announced it over 6 months ago. But it has this one feature in it called Journals, which is you can take pictures. Now, with iCloud, all your pictures float back and forth. So I was taking pictures with my iPhone when we were in Tennessee. I come back on my iPad mini. There's a bunch of pictures. They're coming in from the iCloud. I then take them, throw them into Iphoto, and then create this thing called the journal. It's kind of cool. It's very structured. It's square, and you place pictures. You can make them bigger, smaller. You can move them around a little bit. You can, but the nice thing is you can give it a title. You can make different pages, but you can kind of put in little elements. So they have an element for the weather. They have an element for maps. They have an element for a note. So I put a little map of Tennessee. I put pictures of us. I put some date elements. And it was really cool. It took me like a half an hour to kind of, make it look the way I wanted to, but it was fun while doing it. And then the best part is you can then share it. You can either send it as an email. It publishes as a website, which you can then update. So if I updated it now and misspelled your name, I could change it. You can put captions on pictures, but then it creates these sort of web pages that you can make private, or you can just send it out via the link and people can click on it. They can see the pictures. They can see everything. I think things are interactive when they get to it. So it was really cool. It kind of, it's a nice little way of making a nice card or web page or whatever. And, I used to do this much more when my kid was younger. I used to do this stuff all the time in not iCloud, but not Mobile Me Pages.
Yeah, it was Mobile Me. It replaced the photo galleries.
Yes, it had photo galleries.
Photo galleries disappeared. They
Right.
replaced it with this thing.
Right. Which this is a little bit more.
These are cool.
Yeah. So it was cool. Anyway, so I'm picking Iphoto because I kind of used it and I liked it. And it's not. I think it's $9.99. I think everything in the Apple Store that's Apple is $9.99. But it's really nice.
Surprised you didn't use the cards. Does that cards app publish, or it doesn't publish as a web thingy?
I think it publishes as a card. And
you have to then
print
cards.
I think so. That's like a card.
That's what I mean. It'd be cool if that just printed as didn't print. It just published something.
It published, right. So iPhoto for iOS, it works on your iPad, iPhone. The thing is, it's a very powerful. You can do all sorts of things with images and swipe and change colors and all that. I wasn't using that. I was just creating these little journals, but they're nice. It's kind of cool. I mean, you got 2 of them. Was it cool? They kind of look cool?
Yeah. No, I've seen it before.
Oh. Yeah, I think we made a test one.
We did.
But I've never used it
out,
for a real. I have the test one sitting here. That's how I know. I think it was you and I at
it was
at another event. This is like the Jason and Justin show. So that's it. So iPhoto for the iOS, $9.99 from Apple or your local iTunes app store. And that, as they say, is that for the podcast. We will try to get one in next week for the last of the last, but that has to do with travel and it's a crazy week, holiday. So we'd like to wish everybody out there happy holidays, either the holidays that happened before or the holidays that are going to come up, or the new year that is impending. All that I hope is good with all of our listeners. Remember to follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, all those places. Go to the blog, blog.arkusinc.com. And until next week, and hopefully this year, but maybe next year, well, enjoy those cloudy days.